here today with an exciting new guest.
Me, Alexander, from the Emerald Bowtie YouTube channel.
Also known as PokeAlex1963.
Yep. And right there's my computer, right here's hers.
Because mine's gonna restart anytime soon.
Mine's recording, also.
You didn't turn on this light like I told you.
No, it doesn't need to be on.
I need light. I need light.
Okay, so if you don't know what we're doing...
We're doing a Let's Read in the Dark.
Yes.
There we go. We have the creepy green torch over there.
It's Minecraft torch.
You know Minecraft torch. That's why I'm saying, see, we need to put it... We need to put it right here.
Actually, we're just gonna do it like this.
Put it up against this wall.
I don't want it to fall though.
It's a puke yellow. It's a puke yellow.
Okay.
Anyways.
Okay, so we're going to be reading the blood.
Chords. Anyways, I hope you all are so excited. Our first ever Let's Read. I'm going to be doing all the girl voices. You're going to be doing all the guys, correct?
Yes.
Good.
And what we are going to be doing...
Five Nights at Freddy's, The Silver Eyes.
By Scott Cawthon. And
the creator of all the Five Nights at Freddy's video games. I personally have not read this book.
I have, and it is amazing.
I started to read it, and then he said, let's read, so I said, sure, whatever. So, let's get started.
Yes. This is basically, like, I also just want to see your reaction and capture it on video, so everyone can see it.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get started.
Okay.
Go.
Five Nights at Freddy's, The Silver Eyes, by Scott Cawthon and Kara Breed Weasley.
Five Nights at Freddy's, The Silver Eyes. Copyright 2015 Scott Cawthon.
Oh, by the way, Scott, if you're watching this, thank you, but you have a dark mind.
You have a very strange mind, and I like it.
And where did the inspiration come from? Like, I know.
It came from creepypasta. Keep going.
Just say yellow. I'm sure they'll understand. Okay. Chapter 1.
He sees me.
Charlie dropped to her hands and knees. She was wedged between a row of arcade games, cramped in the crawl space between the consoles and the wall, tangled electrical cords and useless plugs strewn beneath her. She was cornered. The only way out was past the thing, and she wasn't fast enough to make it. She could see him stalking back and forth, catching flickers of movement between the gaps between the games. Through the gaps between the games. There was scarcely enough room to move. But she tried to crawl backward. Her foot caught on the cord. She stopped, contorting herself to carefully dislodge it. She heard the clash of metal on metal, and the farthest console rocked back against the wall. He hit it again, shattering the display, then attacked the next, crashing against them almost rhythmically, tearing through the machinery, coming closer.
Wait, what? Oh. I have to get out. I have to.
The panicked thought was of no help. There was no way out. Her arm ached, and she wanted to sob out loud. Blood soaked through the tattered bandage, and it seemed as though she could feel it draining out of her. The console a few feet away crashed against the wall, and Charlie flinched. He was getting closer. She could hear the grinding of gears and the clicking of servos ever louder. Eyes closed, she could still see the way he looked at her, see the matted fur and the exposed metal beneath his synthetic flesh. Suddenly, the console in front of her was wrenched away. It toppled over, thrown down like a toy. The power cords beneath her hands and her knees were yanked away, and Charlie slipped, almost falling. She caught herself and looked up just in time to see the downward swing of a hook. Welcome to Hurricane Utah. Charlie smiled wryly at the sign and kept driving. The world didn't look any different from one side of the sign to the other, but she felt a nervous anticipation as she passed it. She didn't recognize anything. Then again, she hadn't really expected to. Not this far at the edge of town, where it was all highway and empty space. She wondered what the others would look like, who they were now. 10 years ago, they'd been best friends. and then it happened, and everything ended, at least for Charlie. She hadn't seen any of them since she was 7 years old. They had written all the time as kids, especially Marla, who wrote like she talked, fast and incoherent. But as they got older, they had grown apart. The letters had grown fewer and further between. The conversations leading up to this trip had been perfect, perfunctory and full of awkward pauses. Charlie repeated their names as though to reassure herself that she still remembered them. Marla, Jessica, Lamar, Carlton, John, and Michael. Michael was the reason for the trip after all. It was 10 years since he died, 10 years since it happened. And now his parents wanted them all together for the dedication ceremony. He wanted all his old friends there when they announced the scholarship they were creating in his name. Charlie knew it was a good thing to do, but the gathering still felt slightly macabre. She shivered and turned down the air conditioning, even though she knew it was not cold. As she drove into the town center, Charlie began to recognize things. A few stores and the movie theater, which was now advertising the summer's blockbuster hit. She felt a brief moment of surprise and smiled at herself. What did you expect? That the whole place would be unchanged? A monument to this moment of your dark.
What did you expect? That the whole place would be unchanged? A monument to the monument of your departure.
Moment. Anyways.
The moment of your departure. Frozen forever. In July 1985?
Well, that was exactly what she had expected. She looked at her watch, still a few hours to kill before they all met up. She thought about going to the movie, but she knew what she really wanted to do. Charlie made a left turn and headed out of town. 10 minutes later, she pulled to a stop and got out. The house loomed up before her, its dark outline a wound in the bright blue sky. Charlie leaned back against the car, slightly dizzy. She took a moment to steady herself with deep breaths. She had known it would be here. An illicit look through her aunt's bank books a few years before had told her that the mortgage was paid off and that Aunt Jen was still paying in property taxes. It had only been 10 years. There was no reason it should have changed at all. Charlie climbed the steps slowly, taking in the killing paint. Third stair still had the loose board, and the rose bushes had taken over one side of the porch, their thorns biting hungrily into the wood. The door was locked. Charlie still had her key. She had never actually used it. As she took it from her neck and slid it into the lock, she removed her father from its chain-run neck. In case you ever need it. Well, she needed it now. The door opened easily, and Charlie looked around. She didn't remember much about the first couple of years here. She had only been 3 years old, and all the memories had faded together in the blur of a child's grief and loss, of not understanding why her mother had to go away, clinging to her father every moment, not trusting the world around her unless he was there, unless she was woken to have it from burying herself in his flannel shirts and the smell of grease and hot metal on him. The stairs stretched straight up in front of her, but she did not move directly to them.
Sorry.
Instead, she went into the living room, where all the furniture was still in place. She had not really noticed it as a child, but the house was a little too large for the furniture they had.
It's hot. You mean turn on the fan?
No!
Okay.
Blow everything off the walls! Off the walls! No, don't do that, Nate. Just open it a bit.
It's hot.
Just, yeah, open
it's
it.
Making
Leave
me
it like that.
with fear.
Leave it like that, okay? Gosh.
I'm trembling with
We're gonna have to cut that out. Okay, can you just leave?
That sounds weird.
Things were spread out too widely in order to fill the space. The coffee table was too far from the couch to reach. The easy chair was too far across the room to carry on a conversation. There was a dark stain in the wooden floorboards near the center of the room. Charlie stepped around it quickly and went to the kitchen, where the cupboards held only a few pots, pans, and dishes. Charlie had never felt a lack of anything as a child, but it seemed now that the unnecessary enormity of the house was a short of apology, the attempt of a man who had lost so much to give his daughter what he could. he'd always had a way of overdoing whatever he did. The last time she was here, the house had been dark and everything felt wrong. She was carried up the stairs to her bedroom, although she was 7 years old and could have gone quicker on her own 2 feet. But Aunt Jen had stopped on the front porch, picked her up, and carried her, shielding her face as though she was a baby in the glaring sun. In her room, Aunt Jen set Charlie down and closed the bedroom door behind her. I probably want to stop this now. We'll carry on mine.
Alright. Don't slam my computer!
Sorry. I just clicked fast. Okay.
Let me save it. Keep reading, it'll be on that one.
Sorry. Okay, can you move mine over to where yours is and plug mine in?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry about this.
Hold on. Plugging gears in, moving it here.
Let me just fix this. Okay.
Dude. It needs to be like that.
Look at our eyes. The silver eyes.
Oh my god.
Anyways, that'll be the bloopers.
Yeah.
Man, it's actually getting hot in here.
I told you.
It's because there's 2 people in this room and there's usually 1. Freddy.
It's Freddy and me.
Silver eyes.
Together forever.
Anyways, okay. In her room, Aunt Jen set Charlie down and closed the bedroom door behind them. She told her to pack her suitcase, and Charlie had cried because all of her things could never fit in that small case.
Aww.
We could come back for the rest later. Wait, sorry.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Wait, where are you? Oh. We can come back for the rest later.
Aunt Jen said, her impatience leaking through as Charlie hovered indecisively at her dresser, trying to decide which t-shirts to bring along. They had never come back for the rest. Charlie mounted the stairs, heading to her old bedroom. The door would open, and as she opened it, she had a giddy feeling of displacement, as though her younger self might be sitting there among her toys. I looked up and asked Charlie, "Who are you?"
Who are you?
Charlie went in. Like the rest of the house, her bedroom was untouched. The walls were pale pink, and the ceiling, which sloped dramatically on one side to follow the line of the roof, was painted to match. Her old bed still stood against the wall beneath a large window. The mattress was still intact, though the sheets were gone. The window was cracked slightly open, and rotting lace curtains wavered in the gentle breeze from outside. Calm down.
I'm tired.
It does that. Okay.
Also,
Don't. Okay.
now back to our program.
Anyways.
Where were you?
There was a dark water stain on the gentle breeze from outside. There's a
There's a dark water stain, a gentle breeze outside. Ooh, that's. I felt that. You're like, hold on.
Okay.
Ow! You deserve that one. You kept on hitting me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was to scare you guys. What was that?
Okay.
You know, I think we should do 1 chapter per night.
Oh, duh.
I know we're not even at the end yet.
Okay. There was a dark water stain in the paint beneath the window, where the weather had gotten in over the years, betraying the house's neglect. Charlie climbed onto the bed and forced the window shut. It obeyed with a screech, and Charlie stepped back and turned her attention to the rest of the room to her father's creations. The first night in the house, Charlie had been afraid to sleep alone. She did not remember the night, but her father had told her about it often enough that the memory had taken the quality of memory. That the story had taken the quality of memory. She sat up and wailed until her father came to find her, until he scooped her up and held. You don't have to do that. I'm going to add in sound effects.
Well, I'm sorry.
Gosh.
Gosh.
She sat up and wailed until her father came to find her, until he scooped her up and held her and promised her that he would make sure that she was never alone again. Next morning, he took her by the hand and led her to the garage, where he set to work keeping that promise. The first of it. Calm down. The first of his inventions was a purple rabbit, now gray with age from years of sitting in the sunlight. Her father had named him Theodore.
Dang it! I thought it was gonna be Bonnie. Shh, child, it comes later.
Wait, what was it? It was.
I don't know what you were going to do.
Harry baby.
See, we don't need to cut this out.
No, I am gonna cut this out and put this at the end. I do that from time to time. It's good. It makes people laugh. Oh, stop. We can't keep interrupting me.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to do all this editing.
Keep going.
The first of his inventions was a purple rabbit, now gray with age from years of sitting in the sunlight. Shush.
Theodore.
Just stop, Meg. Gosh, just stop, okay? I'm trying to read.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Sit up normally. Sit up how you were before we started talking. Okay. Her father had named him Theodore. He was the size of a 3-year-old child, her size at the time, and he had plush fur, shiny eyes, and a dapper red bow tie. He didn't do much, only waved a hand, tilted his head to the side, and said in her father's voice, "I love you, Charlie." But it was enough to give her a night watcher, someone to keep her company when she could not sleep. Right now, Theodore sat in a white wicker chair in the far corner of the room, in the far corner of the room. Charlie waved at him, but not activated, he did not wave back. After Theodore, the toys got more complex. Some worked and some did not. Some seemed to have permanent glitches. Permanent glitches, while others simply did not appeal to Charlie's childish imagination. She knew her father took those back to his workshop. And recycled them for parts, though she did not like to watch them dismantled. But the ones that were kept, she loved. Okay, I mean, stop with the hand motions. And if you get hot, don't go like that. Just deal with it, okay?
Okay.
Silver eyes. Okay, anyway. But the ones that were kept, those she loved, and they were here now, looking at her expectantly. Smiling, Charlie pushed a button beside her bed. It gave way stiffly, but nothing happened. She pushed it again, holding it down longer, and this time, across the room, and with a weary creak of metal on metal, the unicorn began to move. The unicorn, Charlie had named him Stanley for some reason she could no longer remember.
Because Stanley is an amazing name.
Stanley the unicorn.
Stanley the unicorn.
Stanley the unicorn. Okay, anyways. Was made of metal and had been painted glossy white. He trundled around the room on a circular track, bobbing his head stiffly up and down. The track squealed as Stanley rounded the corner and came to a stop beside the bed. I just realized that every single time the screen turns off, like, we just get darker. In the recording, we just get darker for a second. Like, jump scare.
Anyways, keep going so we can end this and do more bloopers.
Okay, keep watching next time what happens.
Okay.
The track squealed. Wait. bobbing his head stiffly up and down. The truck squealed as Stanley rounded the corner and came to a stop beside the bed. Charlie knelt beside him on the floor and patted his flank. His glossy paint was chipped and peeling, and his face had given over to rust. His eyes were lively, gazing out of the decay. You need a new coat of paint, Stanley. Oh, sorry.
You need a new coat of paint, Stanley,
Charlie said. The unicorn stared ahead, unresponsive. At the foot of the bed there was a wheel, made of patched-together metal. It had always reminded her of something she might find on a submarine. Charlie turned it. It stuck for a moment and then gave way, rotating as it always did, and across the room the smallest closet door swung open. Out sailed Ella on her track, a child-sized doll bearing a teacup and saucer in her tiny hands like an offering. Ella's plaid dress was still crisp, and her patent leather shoes still shone. Perhaps the closet had protected her from the damage of the damp. Charlie had an identical outfit back when she and Ella were the same height.
Hi, Ella,
She said softly. As the wheel unwound, Ella retreated to her closet again, the door closing behind her. Charlie followed her. The closets had been built to the line in the slant of the ceiling, and there were 3 of them. Ella lived in the short one, which was about 3.5. Which was about 3.5 feet tall. Next to it, I'm so sorry.
Silence your cell phones now.
Hey,
watch this.
John! Okay, anyways.
Look at...
Actually, I look like you ate me for a moment. Okay.
I have a big mouth.
Wait.
Ow, it hurts.
3.5 feet tall. Next to it was one a foot or so taller, and a third, closest to the bedroom door, was the same height as the rest of the room. She smiled, remembering. Why do you have 3 closets? John had demanded the first time he came over. She looked at him blankly, confused by the question.
'Cause that's how many there are.
She said finally. She pointed defensively to the littlest one.
That one's Ella's anyways.
She added. John nodded, satisfied. Okay, back to this. Charlie shook her head and opened the door to the middle closet, or tried to. The knob stopped with a jolt. It was locked. She rattled it a few times but gave up without much conviction. She stayed crouched low to the floor and glanced up at the tallest closet. Her big girl closet that would someday grow into. You won't need it until you're bigger, her father would say. But that day never came. The door now hung open slightly, but Charlie didn't want to disturb it. It hadn't opened for her. It had only given way to time. As she moved to stand, she noticed something shiny, half hidden under... She noticed something shiny, half hidden under the rim of the locked metal door. She leaned forward to pick it up. It looked like a broken-off piece of a circuit board. She smiled slightly. Nuts, bolts, scraps, and parts had turned up all over the place once upon a time. Her father always had stray parts in his pockets. He would carry something he was working on around, set it down, and forget where it was, or where to put something aside for safekeeping, never to be found again. There was also a strand of her hair clinging to it. She unwound it carefully from the tiny lip of metal it was stuck on. Finally, as though she had been putting it off, Charlie crossed the room and picked up Theodore. His back had not faded in the sun like the front of his body, and was still the same rich, dark purple she remembered. She pressed a button at the base of his neck, but he remained lifeless. His fur was threadbare, with one ear hanging loose by a single rotting thread, and through the hole she could see the green plastic of his circuit board. Charlie held her breath, listening carefully for something. Hi, you. The rabbit said, with a barely audible, halting voice. and Charlie set him down again, her face hot and her chest pinched tight. She had not really expected to hear her father's voice again. I love you.
I love you too.
Charlie looked around the room. As a child, it had been her own magical world, and she was possessed of it. Only a few chosen friends were ever even allowed inside. She went to her bed and set Stanley moving on his track again. She left, closing the door behind her before the little unicorn came to a halt. She went out the back door to the driveway and stopped in front of the garage that had been in her father's workshop. Ah! Her father's workshop. Half buried in the gravel, a few feet away, was a piece of metal, and Charlie went to pick it up. It was jointed in the middle, and she held it in her hands, swaying a little as she bent it back and forth.
Where are you? An elbow joint.
She thought.
I wonder who that was going to belong to.
She had stood in this exact spot many times before. She closed her eyes, and the memory overwhelmed her. She was a little girl again, sitting on the floor of her father's workshop, playing with scraps of wood and metal as though they were choice blocks, trying to build a tower with the uneven pieces. The shop was hot, and she was sweaty, grime sticking to her legs as she sat in her shorts and sneakers. She could almost smell the sharp metallic odor of the soldering iron. Her father was nearby, never out of sight, working on Stanley the unicorn. Stanley's face was still unfinished, one side white and shining and friendly, with a gleaming brown eye that seemed almost to see. The other half of the toy's face was all exposed, circuit boards and metal parts. Charlie's father looked at her and said, and smiled, and she smiled back, beloved. In a darkened corner behind her father, barely visible, hung a jumble of metal limbs, a twisted skeleton with burning silver eyes. Every once in a while it gave an uncanny twitch. Charlie tried never to look at it, but as her father worked, she played with her makeshift toys. As she played with her makeshift toys, her eye was drawn back to it again and again. The limbs, contorted, seemed almost mocking the thing, a ghastly gesture, and yet there was something about it that suggested enormous pain.
Daddy?
Charlie said, and her... Okay, they could totally see me.
I'm sorry. You're like... Daddy?
Charlie said, and her father did not look up from his work.
Daddy?
She said again, more urgently, and this time he turned to her slowly, as though not fully present in the world. What do you need, sweetie? She pointed at the metal skeleton.
Does it hurt?
She wanted to ask the question, but when she looked in her father's eyes, she found she could not. She shook her head.
Nothing.
He nodded at her with an absent smile and went back to his work. Behind him, the creature gave another awful twitch, and its eyes still burned. Charlie shivered and drew herself back to the present. She glanced behind her, feeling exposed. She looked down, and her gaze fixed on something. 3 widely spaced grooves in the ground. She knelt, thoughtful, and ran her finger over one of them. The gravel was scattered away. The marks worn heavily into the dirt. A camera tripod of some sort was the first unfamiliar thing she'd seen.
A camera tripod of some sort?
It was the first unfamiliar thing she'd seen. The door to the workshop was cracked open slightly, inviting, but she felt no desire to go inside. Quickly, she headed back to her car, but she stopped as soon as she settled into the driver's seat. Her keys were gone, having probably fallen out of a pocket somewhere inside the house. She retraced her steps, merely glancing into the living room and kitchen before heading up to her bedroom. The keys were on the wicker chair beside Theodore the rabbit. She picked them up and jingled them for a moment, not quite ready to leave the room behind. She sat down on the bed. Stanley the unicorn had stopped beside the bed as he always did, and as she sat, she patted him absently on the head. It had grown dark while she was outside, and the room was now cast in shadows. Ah!
They saw you.
I know.
We need to be better at that.
It had grown dark while she was outside, and the room was now casting shadows. Somehow, without the bright sunlight, the toy's flaws and deterioration were thrown into sharp relief. Theodore's eyes no longer shone, and his thin fur and hanging ear made him look like a sickly vagabond. When she looked down at Stanley, the rust around his eyes made them look like hollow sockets, and his bare teeth, which she had always thought of as a smile, became the awful, knowing grin of a skull. Charlie stood up, careful not to touch him, and hurried towards the door, but her foot caught on the wheel beside her bed. She tripped on the tracks and fell sprawling on the floor. There was a whirl of spinning metal, and as she raised her head, a small pair of feet appeared under her nose. Clad in shining patent leather, she looked up. There above her was Ella, staring down at her, silent and uninvited, her glassy eyes almost appearing to see. The teacup and saucer were held out before her with military stiffness. Charlie got up cautiously, taking care not to disturb the doll. She left the room, stepping carefully to avoid accidentally activating any other toys. As Charlie went, Ella retreated to her closet, almost matching her pace. Charlie hurried down the stairs, seized by an urgency to get away. In the car, she fumbled the key 3 times before sliding it into place. She backed too fast down the driveway, driving recklessly over the grass of the front yard, and sped away. After about a mile, Charlie pulled over on the shoulder and turned the car off, staring straight ahead through the windshield, her eyes focused on nothing. She forced herself to breathe slowly. She reached up and adjusted the rearview mirror so she could see herself. She always expected to see pain, anger, and sorrow somehow written on her face. Yeah.
They saw me.
But she always expected to see pain, anger, and sorrow written on her face, but they never were. Her cheeks were pink, and her round face looked almost cheerful. Like always, the first weeks living with Aunt Jen, she heard the same things over and over when Aunt Jen introduced her.
What a pretty child! What a happy-looking child she is!
Sorry.
This is probably one of the loudest water bottles ever.
Wait, 1 second, we need a break. Okay.
Alright,
It's hot!
Before we start, I just want to say we both now know why there's a fan in Five Nights at Freddy's. Because it's freaking hot in here.
Okay. Okay. Anyways,
we
Charlie...
have Theodore.
Yes. Okay. Anyways. No, I'm seriously clearing my throat. Morse code.
It's Morse code.
Yeah.
Oh, my glove
really
fell
need a drink.
off. I know, me too. I have a loud water bottle. Listen.
That is pretty loud. Okay. You're supposed to suck from You're supposed to suck from that.
Stop it! You made me laugh!
This is not a hand. See, the thumb's too big. This is not a hand. What? I'm highlighting things.
Like, put your foot down!
Okay. What? Okay. Charlie always looked around looked like she... Okay. Charlie always looked like she was about to smile, her brown eyes wide and sparkling, the thin mouth ready to curve up, even when she wanted to sob. The incongruency was a mild betrayal. She ran her fingers through her light brown hair as though it would magically fix its slight frizziness and put the mirror back into position. She turned the car back on and searched for a radio station, hoping music might bring her fully back to reality. She flipped from station to station, not really hearing any of them that were playing. Okay. She flipped from station to station, not really hearing what any of them were playing, and finally settled on an AM broadcast, with the host who seemed to be yelling condescendingly at his audience. She had no idea what he was talking about, but the brash and annoying sound was enough to jar her back to the present. The clock in the car was always wrong, so she checked her watch. It was almost time to meet her friends at the diner they had chosen, near the center of town. Charlie pulled back onto the road and drove, letting the...
I want Theodore.
It's my Theodore. I never named him until now. This is the official name of the teddy bear, Theodore.
I want Theodore. I want Theodore.
Give me back my Theodore. I read the book first.
Fine then, I choose Pikachu.
But he's not in the story, so you can't have him. I don't want to put that in the description, Megan.
What? Why?
I could put this in because no one knows what this is from, and I won't ever say.
Do you want me to say?
No. Okay.
You got it from me.
I got it from a cop. Long story.
We'll tell you later.
Maybe.
It was funny.
It's not funny, Megan. It's not serious either, but...
We all got bears. We both got bears.
It's not like we went to like an expo or something. Or like a cop festival. I don't know.
A cop festival.
A cop festival. Yeah. I got this from a cop car.
Yeah, he came up and gave
No comments.
No
Stop
comments.
messing with it.
But it's cold against my toes.
Megan, you're gonna knock the computer freaking over.
If you stop holding on to my foot.
Stop.
I'm not going to move it. I just want to rest my foot against it. Dang it!
Hi.
It's watching you. See, I'm not moving the computer at all.
Wait.
I'm just stroking the sole of my toes because it's nice and cool.
Wait.
It's moving in the black darkness. Anyways, we need to finish that. I moved it. Excuse you.
I'm trying to get the reflection.
It smells like corn dogs.
There we go.
It smells like corn dogs.
The reflection of the teddy bear.
Oh my gosh, it's got a heart. It's got a heart right here.
No, it's the number one. Because it's the number one Theodore ever.
Number one Theodore.
Okay. Near the center of town. Well, it was almost time to meet her friends at the diner they had chosen. Near the center of town. Charlie pulled back.
I'm listening. Keep going.
Not Freddy.
I don't care. It's a bear.
It's not a boat. It's a bear.
It's not a boat. It's a car.
Bear. Bart. Okay. Anyways.
Bart Simpson.
No, we don't watch that.
It is not allowed in this house.
I don't know. Okay, near the center of town. Charlie pulled back onto the road and drove, letting the sound of the angry talk radio's host soothe her mind. Huh. When she reached the restaurant, Charlie pulled into the lot and stopped, but did not park. The front of the diner had a long picture window all across it. She could see right inside. Though she had not seen them for years, it took her only a moment to spot her friends through the glass. Jessica was the easiest to pick out from the crowd. She always enclosed pictures in her letters, and right now she looked exactly like her last photo. Even seated, she was clearly taller than either of the boys, and very thin. Though Charlie could not see her whole outfit, she was wearing a loose white shirt with an embroidered vest, and she had a brimmed hat perched on her glossy, shoulder-length brown hair, with an enormous flower threatening to tip it off her head. I don't know why I said ant head.
Cause she's an ant head.
No, she's not. She's awesome. She was gesturing excitedly about something as she spoke. The two boys were sitting next to each other, facing her. Carlton looked like an older version of his red-headed childhood self. He still had a bit of a baby face, but his feet... Ow, baby. Anyways.
Ow!
But
I
his feet.
but I can read.
But his features had refined, and his hair was carefully tousled and held in place by some alchemical hair product. He was almost pretty for a boy, and he wore a black workout shirt, though she doubted he'd ever worked out a day in his life. He's
Flabby arms.
noodle.
Noodle.
Attack of the noodle arms.
Attack of the noodle arms. You got a lot of editing to do.
Hey, I didn't actually stop you, okay? Calm down. Okay.
You calm down.
He's a day in his life. He slouched. He slouched forward on the table, resting his chin on his chin.
Resting his chin on his chin.
Though she doubted he had ever worked out a day in his life, he slouched forward on the table, resting his chin in his hands. Beside him, John sat closest to the window. John had been the kind of child who got dirty before he even went outside. There would be paint on his shirt before the teacher handed out the watercolors. Grass stains on his knees before they came near a playground, and dirt under his fingernails before he had just after he had washed his hands. Charlie knew it was him because it had to be, but he looked completely different. The groviness of his childhood had been replaced by something crisp and clean. He was wearing a neatly pressed, light green button-down shirt, the sleeves rolled up and the collar open, preventing him from looking too uptight. He was leaning back confidently in the booth, nodding enthusiastically, apparently absorbed in whatever Jessica was saying. The only concession to his former self was his hair, sticking up all over his head, and he had a 5 o'clock shadow, a smug adult version of the dirt he was always covered in as a kid. Oh my gosh. He radio's after.
No!
I don't even watch that show.
Turn the camera this way.
No.
No.
She's on the floor crying. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop it. Okay.
And we're back.
Yeah, after I heard a little mental breakdown.
You mean fangirl breakdown?
Fangirl mental breakdown. Because I had to re-establish everything she knew.
You had to reuse Aki establish.
Don't be retarded.
No!
Anyways, back to the story.
Hold on. I gotta say that. Okay.
Covered in
continue.
as a kid. Charlie smiled to herself. John had been something like her childhood crush before either of them really understood what that meant. He gave her cookies from his Transformers lunchbox, and once in kindergarten he took the blame when she broke the glass jar that held colored beads for arts and crafts. She remembered the moment when it slipped from her hands, and she watched it fall. She could not have moved fast enough to catch it, but she would not have tried. She wanted to see it break. The glass hit the wood floor and shattered into 1,000 pieces, and the beads scattered, many colored among the shards. She thought it was beautiful, and then she started to cry. John had a note sent home to his parents, and when she told him thank you, he had winked at her with an irony beyond his years, and simply said, "For what?"
Oh, so cute!
After that, John was allowed to come to her room. She let him play with Stanley and Theodore, watching anxiously as the first time he learned to press the buttons and make them move. She would be crushed if he didn't like them, knowing instinctively that would have made her think less of him. They were his family, but John was too fascinated.
What are you doing here?
John was too fascinated. Okay. They were her family, but John was too fascinated as soon as he saw them. He loved her mechanical toys, and so she loved him. 2 years later, behind a tree inside her father's workshop, she almost let him kiss her. And then it happened, and everything ended, at least for Charlie. That's a quote.
And then
And-
it happened.
Yeah, and then it happened and everything ended, at least for Charlie. That's like the quote of the book. Or like it says that a few times.
So sad.
Silver eyes.
Silver eyes. Dude, it actually looks like my eyes.
No, it actually looks like mine.
We're waiting every night to find
Okay,
me.
stop.
Continue.
Okay. At least for Charlie. Charlie shook herself, forcing her mind back to the present. Okay, so please stop. Looking again at Jessica's polished appearance, she looked down at herself. Purple t-shirt, denim jacket, and black jeans, and combat boots. It had felt like a good choice this morning, but now she wished she had chosen something else.
We're not watching.
Excuse me, we're recording.
Bye. Thank you. Continue.
I know I'm gonna forget something. It's your turn, Ming.
Hi.
This is all you ever wear?
This is all you ever wear.
She reminded herself. She parked and locked the car behind her, even though people in Hurricane did not usually lock their cars. Then she went into the dining. That was there for effect.
It
was
was bothering me.
Just sit up. Then she went into the diner to meet her friends for the first time in 10 years. The warmth, noise, and light of the rest
Flappy Bird.
The warmth, noise, and light of the restaurant hit her in a wave as she entered. For a moment she was overwhelmed, but Jessica saw her pause in the doorway and shouted her name. Charlie smiled and went over.
Hi.
She said awkwardly, flicking her eyes at each of them, but not fully making eye contact. Jessica scooted over on the red vinyl bench and patted the seat behind or beside her. Here, no wait, say,
Here, sit.
she said.
I was just telling John and Carlton about my glamorous life.
Okay, that's not the right voice at all. Okay, try again.
Here, sit.
She said.
I was just telling John and Carlton about my glamorous life.
She rolled her eyes as she said it, managing to convey both self-depreciation and the sense that her life was truly something exciting. Did you know that Jessica lives in New York? Carlton said. There was something careful about the way he spoke, like he was thinking about his words before he formed them. John was silent, but he smiled at Charlie anxiously. Jessica rolled her eyes again, and with a flash of deja vu, Charlie suddenly recalled that this had been a habit even when they were children. 8 million people live in New York, Carlton. It is not exactly...
It's mine!
Oh, sorry.
8 million people live in New York, Carlton. It's not exactly an achievement.
Jessica said. Carlton shrugged. I've never been anywhere, he said.
I didn't know you still lived in town,
Charlie said. Where else am I gonna live? My family has been here since 1896, he added, deepening his voice to mimic his father.
Wait, you gotta do that again.
Where else am I going to live? My family has been here since 1896, he added, deepening his voice to mimic his father.
Is that even true?
I don't know, Carlton said it in his own register. Could be. Dad ran for mayor 2 years ago. I mean, he lost, but still, who runs for mayor? He made a face. I swear, the day I turn 18, I am out of here. Where are you gonna go? John asked, looking seriously at Carlton. Carlton met his eyes, just as serious for a moment. Abruptly, he broke away and pointed out the window, closing one eye as if to get his aim true. John raised an eyebrow as he looked out the window, trying to follow the line Carlton was pointing to. Charlie looked too. Carlton wasn't pointing at anything. John opened his mouth to say something, but Carlton interrupted. Or he said as he smoothly pointed in the opposite direction.
It's
Okay.
not smoothly, it's just like...
No, it is smoothly.
Well, you didn't do it smoothly. You were like... It was like... Or...
Okay. Okay. John scratched his head, looking slightly embarrassed. Anywhere, right? He added with a laugh.
Where's everyone else?
Charlie asked, peering out the window and searching the parking lot for new arrivals. Tomorrow, John said.
They're coming tomorrow morning.
Jessica jumped in to clarify.
Marla's bringing her little brother. Can you believe it? Jason?
Charlie smiled. She remembered Jason as a little bundle of blankets with a tiny red face picking out.
I mean, who wants a baby around?
Jessica adjusted her hat primly.
I'm pretty sure he's not a baby anymore.
Charlie said, stifling a laugh.
Practically a baby.
Jessica said.
Anyway, I booked us a room at the motel down by the highway. It was all I could find. The boys are staying with Carlton. Okay,
Charlie said. She was vaguely impressed by Jessica's organization, but she wasn't happy about the plan. She was loath to share a room with Jessica, who now seemed like a stranger. Jessica had become the kind of girl who intimidated her. Polished and immaculate. Immaculate. That's what I said. Speaking as though she had everything in life figured out. For a moment, Charlie considered going back to her old house for the night, but as soon as she thought it, the idea repelled her. That house at night was no longer the providence of the living.
Don't be dramatic,
she scolded herself. But now John was speaking. He had a way of commanding attention with his voice, probably because he spoke less often than everyone else. He spent most of his time listening, but was not out of reticence. He was gathering information, speaking only when he had wisdom or sarcasm to defense. Often it was both at once. Does anyone know what's happening tomorrow? They were all silent for a moment. The waitress took the opportunity to come over for their order. Charlie flipped quickly through the menu, her eyes not really focusing on the words. Her turn to order came much faster than she was expecting, and she froze.
Eggs,
she said at last. The woman's hard expression was still fixed on her. She realized she had not finished.
Scrambled. Wheat toast,
she added, and the woman went away. Charlie looked back down at the menu. She hated this about herself. When she was caught off guard, she seemed to lose all ability to act or process what was going on around her. People were incomprehensible. Their demands alien.
Ordering dinner shouldn't be hard,
she thought. The others had begun their conversation again, and she turned her attention to them, feeling like she had fallen behind.
What do we even say to his parents?
Jessica was in.
Carlton, do you ever see them?
Not really,
Charlie
asked. Not really, he said. Around, I guess. Sometimes.
I'm surprised they stayed in Hurricane,
Jessica said with a note of worldly disapproval in her voice. Charlie said nothing, but she thought,
how could they not?
His body had never been found. How could they not have secretly hoped that he might come home, no matter how impossible they knew it was? How could they only leave? Stop, Megan.
I'm not doing anything.
I saw the whole thing go up.
I'm sorry.
Don't touch it anymore, okay? His body had never been found. How could they not have secretly hoped that he might come home, no matter how impossible they knew it was? How could they leave the only home Michael knew? It would mean really finally giving up on him. Maybe that was what scholarship was, an admission that he was never coming home. Charlie was acutely aware that they were in a public place, where talking about Michael felt inappropriate. They were, in a sense, both insiders and outsiders. They had been closer to Michael, probably than anyone in the restaurant, with the exception of Carlton. They were no longer from Hurricane. They did not belong. She saw the tears falling on her paper placement before she felt them, and hurriedly wiped her eyes, looking down and hoping no one had noticed. When she looked up, John appeared to be studying his silverware, but she knew he had seen. She was grateful to him for not trying to offer comfort.
John, do you still write?
John had declared himself an author when they were about 6. having learned to read and write when he was 4, a year ahead of the rest of them. At the age of 7 he had completed his first novel and pressed his poorly spelled inscrutability illustrated creation on his friends and family, demanding reviews. Charlie remembered she had given him only 2 stars. John laughed at their question. I actually do my E's the right way around these days, he said. I can't believe you remember that, but I do, actually, yeah. He stopped, clearly wanting to say more.
Well, what do you write?
No.
Oh.
Well, what do you write? Carlton obliged, and John looked down at his placemat, speaking Leslie to the table. Short stories mostly. I actually had one published last year. I mean, it was just a magazine, nothing big. They all made suitable noises of being impressed. And he looked up again, embarrassed but pleased.
What was the story about?
Charlie asked. John hesitated, but before he could speak or decide not to, the waitress returned with their food. They had all ordered from the breakfast menu: coffee, eggs and bacon, and blueberry pancakes for Carlton. The brightly colored food looked hopeful, like a fresh start to the day. Charlie took a bite of her toast, and they all ate silently for a moment. Hey, Carlton, John said suddenly. Whatever happened to Freddy's anyway? There was a brief hush. Carlton looked nervously at Charlie, and Jessica stared up at the ceiling. John flushed red, and Charlie spoke hastily. It's okay, Carlton. I'd like to know too.
It's okay, Carlton. I'd like to know too.
Charlton shrugged, stabbing at his pancakes nervously with his fork. They built over it, he said.
What did they build?
Is there something else there now? Was it built over or just toned down? John asked. Carlton shrugged again, quick, like a nervous tick. Like I said, I don't know. It's too far back from the road to see, and I haven't exactly investigated. It might have been leased to someone, but I don't know what they did. It's all been blocked off for years, under construction. You can't even tell if the building is still there.
So it could still be there?
Jessica asked with a spark of excitement breaking through. Like I said, I don't know, Carlton answered. Charlie felt the dinner's fluorescent lights glaring down on her face, suddenly too bright. She felt exposed. She had barely eaten, but she found herself rising from the bed, pulling a few crumpled bills from her pocket and dropping them on the table.
I'm going to go outside for a minute.
She
Smoke
said.
break.
She added hastily.
You don't smoke.
She shielded herself for the clumsy lie as she made her way to the door, jostling past a family of 4 without saying "excuse me."
Excuse me.
No, she didn't say it.
Oh. Oh.
She stepped out into the cool evening. She walked to the car and sat on the hood, in the metal denting slightly under her weight. She took in breaths of the cool slightly under her weight. She took in breaths of the cool air as if it were water and closed her eyes.
You knew it would come up. You knew you would have to talk about it.
She reminded herself. She had practiced on the drive there, forced herself to think about happy memories. She smiled and say,
Remember what?
Remember when?
Remember when?
You don't need a quotation, that man.
Remember when?
She thought as she prepared for this, but of course she had been wrong. Why else would she have run out of that restaurant like a child? Charlie? She opened her eyes and saw John standing next to the car, holding her jacket out in front of him like an offering. You forgot your jacket, he said, and she made herself smile at him.
Thanks,
she said. She took it and draped it over her shoulders, then slid over on the car's hood for him to sit.
Sorry about that,
she said. In the dim lights of the parking lot, she could still see him blush to the ears. He joined her on the car's hood, leaving a deliberate space between them. I haven't learned to think before I talk. I'm sorry. John watched the sky as the plane passed overhead. Charlie smiled, this time unforced.
It's okay. I knew it was going to come up. It had to. It sounds stupid, but I never think about it. I don't let myself. No one knows what happened, except my aunt. And we never talk about it. Then I come here, and it's everywhere. I was just surprised, that's all.
Uh-oh, John pointed, and Charlie saw Jessica and Carlton hesitating in the doorway of the diner. She waved them over, and they came.
Who was it? Oh.
Charlie.
Remember that time at Freddy's when the merry-go-round got stuck and Marlo and that mean kid Billy had to keep riding it until their parents plucked them off?
Charlie said. John laughed, and the sound made her smile.
Their faces were bright red, crying like babies.
She covered her face, guilty that it was so funny to her. There was a brief, surprised silence, and then Carlton started laughing. Then Marla puked all over him.
Sweet justice.
Actually,
sweet justice.
Actually, I think it was nachos, John added. Jessica wrinkled her nose.
So gross. I never wrote it again. Not after that.
Oh, come on, Jessica. They cleaned it, said Carlton. I'm pretty sure the kids puked all over that place. Those wet floor signs weren't there for nothing, right, Charlie?
Don't look at me,
she said.
I never puked.
We
used to spend so much time there. Privileges of knowing the owner's daughter,
Jessica said, looking at Charlie with mock accusation.
I couldn't help who my dad was,
Charlie said, laughing. Jessica looked thoughtful for a moment before she continued.
I mean, how could you have a better childhood than spending all day at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza?
I don't know, said Carlton. I think that music's got to me over the years. He hummed a few bars with a familiar song. Charlie dipped her head to it, recalling the tune. I love those.
I loved those animals so much,
Jessica said slowly.
What's the proper term for them? Animals, robots, mascots? I think those are all accurate.
Well, anyway. Oh, wait.
That's me.
Yeah.
Stop! Well, anyway, I used to go and talk to the bunny. What was his name? Bonnie. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Said Jessica.
I used to complain to him about my parents. I always thought he had an understanding look about him. Carlton
laughed. Animatronic therapy. Recommended by 6 out of 7 crazy people.
Shut up!
Jessica retorted.
I knew he wasn't real. I just liked talking to him.
Charlie smiled a little.
I remember that,
she said. Jessica, in her prim little dresses, her brown hair in 2 tight braids like a little kid out of an old book, walking up to the stage when the show was over, whispering earnestly to the life-size animatronic rabbit. If anyone came up beside her, she went instantly silent and still, waiting for them to go away so she could resume her one-sided conversations. Charlie had never talked to the animals at her father's restaurant or felt close to them like some kids seemed to, although she liked them. They belonged to the public. She had her own toys, mechanical friends being for her at home who belonged only to her. I like Freddy, said John. He always seemed to be the most relatable. You know, there are a lot of things about my childhood that I can't remember at all, Carlton said. But I swear, I can close my eyes and see every last detail of that place. Even the gum I used to stick under the tables. Gum?
Yeah, right. Those were boogers.
Jessica took a tiny step away from Carlton. He grinned. I was 7. What do you want? You all picked on me back then. Oh. Remember when Marla wrote Carlton smells like feet on the wall outside?
You did smell like feet.
Jessica laughed with a sudden outburst. Carlton shrugged, unperturbed. I used to try and hide when it was time to go home. I wanted to be stuck in there overnight so I could have the whole place to myself. Yeah, you always kept everyone waiting, said John. And you always hid under the same table. Charlie spoke softly, and when she did, everyone turned to her, as though they had been waiting.
Sometimes I feel like I remember every inch of it, like Carlton.
She said.
But sometimes it's like I hardly remember it at all. It's all in pieces. Like, I remembered the carousel, and the time it got stuck. I remember drawing on the placemats. I remember little things, eating that greasy pizza, hugging Freddie in the summer and its yellow fur getting stuck all over my clothes. But a lot of it is like pictures, like it happened to someone else.
Hint, hint, yellow fur. They were all looking at her oddly. Jessica.
Freddie was brown, right?
Okay, that was really snobby. Say it again.
Freddie was brown, right?
Jessica looked at the others for confirmation. I guess you really don't remember it that well after all. Carlton teased Charlie, and she laughed bravely.
Right, I mean brown.
Meant. Okay.
She said, brown. Freddie was brown. Of course he was.
Of course he was. She could see him in her mind now, but somewhere in the depths of her recall there was a flash of something else. Carlton launched into another story, and Charlie tried to turn her attention to him. But there was something disturbing, worrisome about that lapse in memory. It was 10 years ago. It's not like
it was 10 years ago. It's not like you've got dementia at 17.
She told herself, but it was such a basic detail to have misremembered. Out of the corner of her eyes, she caught John looking at a pensive expression on his face, as though she had said something important. You really don't know what happened. Oh, no.
You really don't know what happened to it?
She asked Carlton with more urgency in her voice than she had intended. He stopped talking, surprised. Sorry, she said.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay, he said, but yeah or no, I don't really know what happened.
How could you not know? You live here.
Charlie, come on, said John.
What?
So it's not like I hang around that part of town. Things are different. The town has grown, Carlton said mildly, seeming unruffled by her outburst. And I honestly don't look for reasons to go around there, you know? I mean, why would I? There isn't any reason, not anymore. We could go there, John said suddenly, and Charlie's heart skipped. Carlton looked nervously at Charlie. What? Seriously, it's a mess. I don't know if you can even get to it. Charlie found herself nodding. She felt as though she had spent the whole day weighed down by memory, seeing everything through a filter of years, and now she felt suddenly alert, her mind fully present. She wanted to go. Let's do it.
Let's do it,
she said.
Even if there's nothing there, I want to see.
They were all silent. Suddenly, John smiled with the reckless confidence. Yeah, let's do it.
And that is the end of chapter 1, finally.
Yes.
How long has this been going on?
Who knows?
About 25 minutes. It's like the sun is burning my eyes. Oh my gosh.
I thought I was crooked the entire time. No,
it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Wait, I just saw something.
Now I wear the hat.
Megan, it really is Theodore.
The gun's still.
It really is Theodore.
Oh my gosh.